Would you like a jelly baby?
Down. Don't need the hat, but I do need the jelly babies. Oh, those jelly babies. Would you like a jelly baby? Oh wait, I already offered you some at the beginning. Sorry. Well, if you would like another one. No? Alright. Okay. So, finally come to the Tom Baker years. Some of the best years of Doctor Who from what I understand, and seen from the first episode, from the first story, the best Doctor in my opinion, and of course my father's. My father used to watch Tom Baker back in the day, back when I guess it was PBS was doing Doctor Who for the Fourth Doctor. I'm not too sure, but that's one I can only guess. But yeah, he used to watch it back in his youth in the 70s. So, let's get right to it, shall we? The story for Robot is: mortally weakened by the Spire Queen on Metebilius 3, the Doctor is forced to regenerate. His recuperation is cut short as UNIT investigates a spate of robberies involving components for a top-secret degenerator gun. The culprit is quickly identified as a highly sophisticated robot built by Professor Kettlewell, which is being ordered to act against its prime directive. Now, the actual overall story for a robot is actually pretty good and very unique. Although, yes, if you actually really look at it while watching the entire story, yes, it does seem like it ripped off a few things. but even then, those rip-offs are actually good. Well, I'll rip off or homage depending on you see it. It's a good introduction for the Fourth Doctor, but it's a very good story that talks about how because science is good and all, it makes great discoveries for humanity, it makes us understand the universe, but there are some things where some extremists could be seen as evil. There is an extremist group that are of scientists or high intelligent people that want to take over the world for the better, and think they know how to rule the world, and they're going to use this robot to do that. But the robot actually has a conscience, which is quite interesting, but it's still obeys the prime directive. But that was very interesting. They had an extremist group of scientists that wanted to control the world in a kind of fascist way. And that was kind of interesting and unique and different, because the Doctor is a scientist. So you kind of see that there's good scientificness and bad science. Or at least bad scientists, I should say. So good and bad. The robot is it's very simplistic. It's a guy in a suit. A very metal suit, as you can see from the cover here. A very metal suit. But it is a unique design, in my opinion. I like how how it looks, how the way they designed it, and the particular metal they used was pretty good. But the head in particular is very, very different. Instead of just getting two eyes or something, there's something to represent eyes. Instead, it's given this kind of half a red dome with a bunch of little different lights in there to show life. And the arms are just like, as you can see, clamps. You want to get clamped? Sorry, I couldn't help a reference to Futurama there. Some clamps and just some clamps. It looks like a different robot than what you would normally see from anywhere else. Like I said, it has a prime directive, which is actually a homage reference, or a complete rip-off, if you like, of Isaac Asimov's Three Laws of Robotics. But then, of course, ever since Isaac Asimov wrote the Three Laws of Robotics, everybody seems to reference those Three Laws of Robotics. Actually, Terrence Dicks, in the making of, actually says, anybody who writes about robots owes a great debt to Asimov, which is very true, because Asimov has set the foundations for robots. The laws and everything, every mechanical thing about robots, Isaac Asimov put down for everybody to use. So, but the prime directive of the robot is basically to not harm humanity, but to aid it. And for that he has a conscience. And and actually makes him a little, which in a weird way makes him a little human, because he actually disobeys that, makes the choice, although he's being forced to, but he makes that choice to disobey his prime directive. But at the same time, Sarah Jane actually shows compassion and care to the robot, and thus the robot actually cares for Sarah Jane and actually does protect her. And spoiler alert, at the end of at the end of the series, the last episode, when all the bad scientists are, basically, arrested or killed, the robot snaps. He actually decides to finish what they wanted to do, but at the same time, he wants to protect Sarah Jane. So he keeps Sarah Jane out of danger while trying to finish what the others were trying to do, which is a very unique thing. What was also good was the voice. Yes, it has a slight robotic noise, but not a cliche robotic noise. But it was also given this very deep and very threatening voice at the same time, which is kind of interesting at the same time. But when it's moments of the conscience kicks in, so when it starts thinking for good, it's kind of weird hearing this deep voice go, "Oh, what am I doing? Oh, I must protect you." Oh, it was very interesting. It kind of still felt for it. Felt for the robot. You didn't feel threatened at that point, but it still had that threatening voice. You kind of felt sorry for it. It was beautiful. But at times, yes, there was a time when it gets this. Again, spoiler alert, it grows really large in the last episode, almost King Kong size, and kind of does rip off King Kong, because it goes to protect Sarah Jane. It goes and picks up Sarah Jane from the ground, kind of like King Kong, and then puts it on top of a building. Puts her on top of a building. It was kind of funny. Then after the robot, then after we'll talk now the robot, and now there's nothing else really to talk about on this story other than the robot. Oh yeah, special effects. The blue screen has actually gotten better. Yes, it still has some kinks to work out, but it actually is getting better. And actually, things can meld in a little bit better with its environments. Putting people in front of the blue screen is working a little bit more. Yes, when the robot is in front of the blue screen, because it's metal, reflects the screen. So although the times they used yellow or orange, which is kind of weird, it's green instead of blue, which is kind of weird. But whatever works, it works. And so there are times when the metal pieces of the robot would reflect the screen, and thus the part of the robot would start disappearing. So it's like they need to work out those kinks a little bit, but other than that, the blue screen is getting better. We're showing progress. I like it. After that, okay. The Doctor himself. Let's get to that now, because that's the most important thing about this story is the Doctor, the new Doctor with Tom Baker. Well, everybody talks about this Doctor as the best Doctor. People of course, argue that David Tennant is the best Doctor, but that's for the new Revival series. That's the one everybody knows more. Not everybody goes to the classic era like I did to really see the entire history. But I will have to admit, because I first saw this Doctor after he shed off John Pertwee and actually became his own Doctor, I instantly fell in love with him. Right there, fell in love with him. And then with the costume and all, it looks really good. In fact, actually, he has several costume changes. In fact, after he sheds off John Pertwee, has his memory back, and decides, okay, let's do this, he comes out of the TARDIS in a Viking uniform. Viking helmet and shield and all that, a sword, it was hilarious. And then Brigadier's like, Dr. Unit is a secret organization. Oh, you think I'll stand out? Yeah. One moment. Goes to the TARDIS, comes out in this, like, this royal garb, like something out of a playing card or something like that, like a poker playing card or something, cliched medieval, royal gown or something like that. It's like, this? It's like, no. Just one moment. Comes out in this clownish, bright, sparkly pink and purple suit with the cone hat and painted face with little tattooed tears. He's like, and a handkerchief. He goes, what about this? And they're like, and the Doctor goes, He goes back into the TARDIS, and comes back out with a scarf, the hat, red jacket with, I think, leather elbow pads, the trousers and the leather loafers. And it looks good. He goes, how about this? He's like, yes, that's better. And to me, looking at that suit, I was like, that's the Doctor, right there. Voice, the way the person acts, and the clothing, perfect. Because to me, from watching the series and doing research, I have to say, my image of the Doctor is that he is because he calls himself the Doctor. It's a title. It's also a degree we give people. You know, it's like because they have a doctorate in something. The Doctor has a doctorate in all sciences and time and space. So he to me is kind of like a college professor or college teacher or university professor. He was just office rocker, and he kind of takes people on field trips to learn about life and everything else in the universe. So to me, Tom Baker fits that role perfectly, from the way the outfit, the voice, and the way he acts fits that persona to me perfectly. And especially if it's for being the 70s, he also looks like a hippie. And so really right away he is a college teacher, university professor, office rocker. I mean, he's completely nuts. So he perfectly fits that, and I find him right then and there. I can see why he is the best Doctor of all time. And in fact, to reference a video, there's a video on YouTube, a series of videos on YouTube called Nerd Court. And Nerd Court, they talk about different discussions like this, like one of their videos was, who was the best Doctor, Tom Baker or David Tennant? And at the end, they declared Tom Baker is the best Doctor. So, there you go. And moving on from that, there's really not much to say about this, but that it was a really good start, you know, for the Fourth Doctor. Good story, good characters, very good ideas, and, you know, just a great overall story because they got it all figured out right then and there. By then, it's like, okay, we've grown up with our audience, we got a new Doctor, let's grow up a little bit more. Still trying to keep for kids, but it's good enough for the people who've grown up with the series, and they're just moving on, making progress. Better progress, and it's really good. And they got a Doctor that's going to be fun, it's enjoyable. Like I said, right away, he was good. I have to give this one a good 3.5 stars out of 5. Very fun and enjoyable to watch. Now, with the start of the Tom Baker era, the stories will actually fade into one another. The last episode in the story doesn't, at least this one, but not all of them will end on cliffhangers, but they do fade into one another. You can see them all individually by themselves because they're their own story, but the next episode with the next story, it picks up immediately or a little bit right after that. Like it just fades in, like they reference what happened in the last one. So it goes in, like there's the next story. It's not a big spoiler, but the next story, The Ark in Space, it ends with them teleporting. They actually teleport to Earth. You just see them teleport. You don't see what happens afterwards, because them teleporting, the end of the story. And the next story, the Sontaran Experiment, picks up right after they teleported to Earth. So there. And yeah, it's not really soap opera-ish or like the beginning of the series with the first Doctor, to where every episode ended on a cliffhanger and each episode took place one after another. So, but it's kind of close. All right. So, I can't wait to see more of Tom Baker. I love it. I love him. It's going great. I love to see more. And I love my scarf. And I love the Jelly Babies. And I have been keeping track of the Jelly Babies consumed in each story so far. And so far, in this story, Robot, or to my Futurama friends, Robot, only 2 Jelly Babies were eaten or consumed in the entire story. All right. Thank you for watching.